This episode of the Interactive Indies podcast is proudly brought to you by New Media Manitoba, fostering growth in Manitoba's interactive digital media industry. Find out more at newmediamanitoba.com. Thanks for tuning in to Interactive Indies, a bi-weekly community podcast featuring the stories from the people that make up our interactive game development and other creative communities, both here in Winnipeg and across Canada. If this is your first time listening, you can check out the podcast on pretty much every major streaming platform. And also, it's now available on YouTube in glorious iPhone quality video. If you just go to interactiveindie.com, there will be a link to pretty much, again, every major streaming platform and YouTube, and you can listen to all of the past conversations. But to jump straight into it, I have a special guest with me, Mike Safioles.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. That practice pays off. Yeah, so anyways, I guess for context, usually I like to get the person to help people like understand a little bit more about themselves. But at one point I want to start off is like kind of how this came to be. I was familiar with you through Zenfri and a lot of the work that you were doing there. And your Twitter account in particular, your Twitter account, I'm a big fan of it, which is maybe an odd comment. But yeah, you do a lot of like cool creative stuff, and you have a lot of like techniques in the way that you do things. So I think there's a lot of value that you can share. But other than that, what is like kind of other things that represent who you are and give people an idea?
I think like. Not work-related.
It can be work-related. Zenfri, I guess I didn't mention that.
Yeah, I guess Zenfri. I like doing Houdini stuff in work. Outside of work, I play a lot of Magic. Like the card game.
Yeah.
Not like, do Magic.
Hey, that would be good too.
That would be cool too, yeah.
Maybe one day.
One day.
Yeah. So I guess a big one is you work at Zenfri.
Yeah.
Can you like talk a little bit about what you do there, and then maybe we can dive into some of the like techniques that you use?
Yeah. So I was originally hired. Well, I guess I first started working there was pre-production on Last Taxi, just as like a 3D generalist, and they brought me back on once they started like doing action production, just as a regular 3D artist, and then at some point we were kind of looking at ways to like how can we make this big giant environment, like how can we make all these assets in like a faster way, and I looked up the Houdini thing and I was like, this seems cool, so we bought a license and I figured it out just as I went. And
So you didn't go into that like that work experience with that skill set.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I like had a vague idea of like the things it could do, so that's like why it was the first thing I suggested. Was like, we should just try this thing and they have a free version. So I like tested out some stuff in the free version. And I was like, like this is what we want. So we got that and just kind of like learned on the job how to do stuff in it. And it's my favorite. I think it's my favorite like 3D package to use now.
So what is it like? What does it allow you to do? So it adds a procedural nature to kind of the art creation pipeline?
Yeah, it's pretty much everything you do in it is procedural. So like instead of hand sculpting like a table or something, you'd be like, okay, take a cube that's like this big, and then at these points put cubes that are this tall, and then once you've got that kind of system set up, you can generate a lot of like just kind of free variation. So you can say like, now I want the table to be this big, but since you specified that like it's going to put legs at like the corners, then you can make any size and it'll automatically have the legs on the corners. It's probably not a great analogy of the table, but
it's a start.
It gives you a lot of more power, I think, than or it more easily gives you a lot more power than something like Maya, I would say. As I'm sure you can do a lot of the same things in Maya, but it just feels easier in Houdini because they let you poke around a lot more with you can just assign whatever attributes to vertexes. You can and it's all about transferring data between 3D faces and vertices and points, and then doing interesting things with that.
Is that an industry standard, a commonly used program? Or because I know Maya and Blender are these things that are established.
Yeah, I think it was primarily a film VFX thing that they'd use for smoke simulations and fire simulations and stuff, and it's just kind of starting to be used more and more the past couple of years in games, because I guess a lot of companies want to make my map is 50 square kilometers. You can't hand do all that, so a tool that can automate stuff is what a lot of people need.
It's interesting to think that if you were to have entered the game dev industry a couple years prior than you did, how different or how many people would have been involved in what you're doing now, but now you're doing it as a single, or not as a single, you have a team that you work with at Zenfri, but in terms of your role 5 years ago was maybe a team of 5 people?
Yeah, you can certainly get a lot more done with less people nowadays, I think. Just because tools just get better and better, and you can just make more and more stuff all on your own kind of thing.
So what is it that you like about the process that you contribute to at Zenfri? So for me, I enjoy the project management stuff because I get an opportunity to be involved in a bunch of different facets, and a lot of the stuff you do is procedural in nature. So what do you kind of, on a personal level, do you get in terms of enjoyment or whatever it is?
It kind of makes a lot of my tasks just interesting problems to solve, as opposed to how finely can I make this art piece. It's more what's the most efficient way to generate some mountains? How can I optimize this for the game? Those are more concrete goals, as opposed to maybe more vague art, we need the composition to be in a certain way. It feels a lot more clear, I need to do this, so I can make a system that does this. I guess it kind of satisfies maybe a programmer-y side of me that likes the more figure out the puzzle thing.
That's interesting. It's a little bit of both, because you're doing you're able to express maybe creative tendencies, but in a kind of wrapped in the bubble of a programmer kind of thing. At least that's my perception.
It is very much kind of half and half. It's there is a bunch of coding that you can do in Houdini to get stuff done, but it's when I make a thing for work, usually the satisfaction I get is not that I made a rock or whatever. It's just that I made a system that makes rocks, and that's cool to me.
Oh, cool.
So
it's efficiency and optimization, and
yeah. I get that. I like all the little tricks that you have to do in game art stuff to get stuff to run good and look good.
There's I don't know why this sticks in my brain, but there was one that you had, or maybe that you didn't post, but Zenfri or Corey or whoever posted it. It was a waterfall thing, and I don't know, maybe this isn't Houdini, but it was do you recall a waterfall that had a ripple when it hit the water surface, and it had this really cool kind of texture thing that I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just curious if there's certain examples that you're able to kind of give of how you apply it, whether it's a personal project or.
Yeah, The waterfall thing you're describing was not Houdini, but it was.
It was the vine in the rocks. Was that Houdini?
That was Houdini. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was something I was just working on at home. I wanted like eventually to like make an asset kit that I can like sell somewhere, but I'm always like, I don't know, I'll play with it for a couple hours for like a 5-day stretch, and I'm just like, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So I am gonna go work on it some more. I haven't touched it much over the holidays, but yeah, it generates a rock, and then it finds like crevices to like put vines and stuff, and it's just neat to like see what I can do with the procedural stuff like that.
So how do you? I'm curious about some of the personal projects that you work on, because I think obviously being able to work in the industry is great, and you get an opportunity to learn. Obviously, it seems like you learn quite a bit through the Houdini stuff and being able to implement that at Zenfri on Last Taxi. But in terms of personal projects, how do you approach? Do you have the same approach in terms of what you enjoy, or do you like explore different things?
It's kind of the same approach, I think. Usually, it's like I'll think of a cool, like all the stuff that I do is pretty much just environment art related. I don't really do much character work, either at home or at work. But usually, it's like I'll see a cool concept art, and I'll think like, oh, how could I like make something that like builds that, and then I'll go home and just like play around with stuff for a couple hours, and I either have something that works or something that doesn't work, and it's usually it's a lot for me. Usually, it's a lot less the like final product as it is just like the problem solving to like get a thing that makes stuff in 3D.
So I'm curious. Maybe I'm jumping around a bit here, but that's fine.
That's okay.
I'm curious how you got to the point of being at Zenfri, because I feel like everyone goes through these experiences of like trying to pursue the thing that they're passionate about and being able to support yourself doing what you love. So how did you kind of get to that point? Where did you start? At what point did you know that games always what you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I can give kind of like a overview. Yeah. So it probably started around high school. My high school had a programming like optional thing that you could take, and I liked it, so I did that, and then I think it was like AP programming or something. So it like counted for a couple of U of M courses I didn't need to take there. And I went to U of M for about a year.
What did you take there?
Computer science. But it just quickly became like really boring and dry
monotonous
to me. Yeah, it was like I already knew at that point that like I want to like make stuff, and all the stuff I was learning in U of M was like, this is the efficiency of sorting a list of words this way, and I'm like, great, like I've been here for months and like I don't know how to make anything. And then
okay, that's interesting. Okay,
so I stopped going to U of M, and then I applied to DMD at Red River because that looked interesting. Particularly the 3D stuff looked interesting, because I realized like whenever I played around with stuff at home, it was like 3D stuff. It was not, I never like coded something for fun at home, so I was like, well, maybe I should try doing 3D stuff, and really enjoyed it because I went to Red River and they were like, this is how you make things. I'm like, oh cool, I like making things.
Okay.
This is great.
Better than U of M.
Yeah,
but it's interesting because
it's for different people, I guess. I'm sure some people would like the more theoretical side of
more things. So for like what you're kind of drawn to.
Yeah,
but I would imagine the experience at U of M kind of, even if it's not what you're naturally drawn to, it kind of helps and makes you better at the thing you enjoy doing because you understand things that are. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, like. I definitely think I'm better off in my like 3D career having had like some computer science and like coding experience, because then it's like, oh, I can write myself a quick little like Maya script that like does something, because I just I've already like learned the like how programming languages generally generally work. But yeah, I did D&D. I worked at Electric Monk for my work placement from D&D.
So was that your first? Was that your first entrance into the industry?
Yeah.
In terms of like you didn't specifically want to do games at that time. You just wanted to get into the creative industry. Was that the goal at that time?
I wanted to do games, I think, when I came into DMD, and then going through DMD, I was like, oh, maybe if I can't get, 3D work, I kind of like web, because, web is a similar, coding and design stuff, put together. I liked web, but when I was finishing DMD and finishing my workplace, and I was like, okay, no, I like doing game stuff, so
oh, cool.
I'm going to stick with that.
So back to Electric Monk, was that, did you get an opportunity to do that there? To do some of the game stuff?
Oh, yeah. It was working on their OWL game.
Phantom something.
Phantom of the Forest, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
was that like a really cool experience? Because it seems like you kind of go through life, or not go through life. That's a weird way to say that. You're trying to pursue the thing that you want to do, and then here you are, you get an opportunity to do it. Was that super cool, or you had done enough up to that point where it was like a natural progression?
It's probably a little bit both.
Okay.
But it was neat to it was neat to finally be sitting down and oh, I'm doing game work now.
I'm doing the thing.
I'm a game developer.
Okay.
Yeah, that was cool. So I did my work placement there, and then I went back to Red River because they have a 3D CG program, which it's always just kind of unofficially the third year of DMD, but it's only 3D. Because if you finish DMD, then I don't think you need to submit a portfolio for 3D CG. You just apply into it, kind of thing. Because they're oh, we already know stuff you can do.
Right.
So I did that. That was fun. Ooh, at some point, I went back to Electric Monk for contract work.
So did you work on Propaganda Llama?
No, I worked on their welding.
Oh, I remember we talked about this.
Yeah.
So that project's kind of funny because it's been passed around to every tech company in Winnipeg to the point where I actually ended up at BitSpace, which is, for context, for where I work. And I remember talking when I found out that that you had worked on it while you're at Electric Monk. I was like, oh, this is I mentioned something about a green overlay, and then you said that you had worked on it. I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's so meaningless, and it doesn't have any effect on anything, but this little relic in a way is connected to someone that I've met before. I don't know. Maybe it sounds silly, but I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Open up a project and it's oh, this person did this person did this, and that guy did that.
As a kind of we had an intern work with us, and so we were working on a project with Zenfri, and one of the interns, there was a method that was called hit or miss, and a month later, 2 months later, he moved to Toronto, and one of the developers that started working on the project saw a comment on it. So the method is hit or miss, and then he put a comment that said, "I guess they never miss, huh?" I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I asked Dan for his phone number just so I could text him and be like, "Hey, this is hilarious." That's all I have to say. Yeah, so that was kind of funny. Maybe it's related to your contributions to welding and kind of similar in that way for me. But anyway, so you had worked on the welding simulator while at Electric Monk.
Yeah, I worked on that. That was a cool project. I don't know if it's changed since then, but it had a physical wand.
Yeah, it doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah, it seems like it's everyone that's worked on it. It's changed a lot between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that project still exists. It's just I think of that meme where I don't know which meme it is, but the like kill me something where it's just like some mutilator's like kill me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good project. I mean, maybe it doesn't sound so good because we're the latest people to be working on it. Yeah, it's a good project. Did you get a chance to work on anything else while you were there?
I don't think so. I think it was just the Phantom of the Forest and the welding stuff. I might have. Oh no, I did. I did a logo for. I don't remember the acronym. It was like it was for a calendar for firefighters. It was just like a little side.
You do graphic design as well?
It was. I think it was more that just wanted like a 3D version of a logo that like spun.
Okay.
I think.
So you had done some freelance after here and there. Maybe even you just kind of maybe when you have the skills that you have, you're always just kind of doing work and helping people out and stuff like that. Yeah. Did Electric Monk? What opportunities did that bleed into in terms of like another full-time opportunity, or is that Zenfri came after?
I think Electric Monk was before I took the 3D CG course, because I'm just remembering the VR headset we had was a dev kit, like a TK2, I think. And then in college, in the third year, we got an Oculus Rift into the classroom. So I had that had to have been the timeline, I think. But that was kind of like my first VR thing, was using the dev kit 2. And then, yeah, I did the third year at Red River, which was great. I think I learned like a lot of good stuff in third year. I almost wish there was just like more years so I could just absorb more
years
knowledge. Yeah, I go back for a fourth year. I don't know.
It seems interesting to me though, because I know in most cases it seems like if you just kind of do the initial program and looking for opportunities, it seems like you can just get opportunities right out of the gate instead of having to go to the third year. Or is that like third year add? What kind of value does that add?
You get well, when we did third year, we focused more on. We did a little bit of like film related stuff, but I think we focused more on game stuff. Mm-hmm. It was all useful knowledge, but I wouldn't say it's like required to like get a job in games in the city or anything. But it was definitely like worth it because we learned other industry standard like software packages. Like we learned Substance, we learned Unreal Engine 4. I think they've put that into DMD now. They shuffled it around a little bit, but that in DMD we didn't really. That I remember, we didn't really like dig into like game engines. Like we didn't open Unreal or Unity and like put stuff in there. But in third year we did that.
Oh, you did go in third year. You did open up into that.
Yeah, in third year we did
cool.
some Unreal Engine stuff. We learned a little bit about version control software, which is something that
keep it away from me. That seems like a nightmare.
It wasn't too bad. We used Perforce, which is like it's got Unreal Engine stuff like built, or Unreal Engine has Perforce stuff like built into it. So but we did like a big group project at the end, so we had to like version control stuff, and it was just neat to because that's like what a studio would do. So it's neat to like get that kind of exposure with like this is how things work. So yeah, third year was great. Then out of third year, I went into Zenfri to do pre-production on Last Taxi, and then.
So what kind of work does that like entail? Just in a maybe you can't speak in specifics, and just but in terms of general responsibilities.
It was like just generalist 3D stuff. Okay. I would like model props and things, but they wouldn't have to be like super refined because it was like kind of building like a prototype really, so you didn't need to have like realistic textures and all this stuff. It's just like get it in the engine, see if it works, fiddle around with it. So we did that I think until October of that year, and then I didn't have 3D work, but I had a part-time job through Oh, I don't remember when I started there. It was at a game store called Play and Trade. They sold like card game stuff and video game stuff.
Okay.
So I worked there, and then I think February I went. So there's like a couple months gap between finishing at Zenfri, and then I started working at Tangent, doing VFX for Next Gen.
Oh, I remember seeing your name in the credits for Next Gen, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm really curious about your experience there.
It was fun. I liked it a lot. It's definitely the biggest studio that I've worked at, because since my only other work experiences were like Electric Monk, which was like under 10 people, and then Zenfri, which was like 6-7 people maybe.
Right.
And then went to Tangent, which was like, I don't know, 50 plus probably.
Plus, like, there's also...
Plus they're the Toronto office.
Is that including Toronto or not even including Toronto?
I'd say like 30 in Winnipeg, probably.
Okay.
That might be a low guess.
Okay,
but
that's still a lot of people. I think it's particularly for Winnipeg, because we're not not a Toronto, we're not a Vancouver, we're not a Montreal.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the like large studio work.
What do you like? What do you think like a large studio offers that an indie studio doesn't, and vice versa?
In terms of work, it was a little more. I don't want to say organized, because like indie studios are still organized and stuff. But if you're doing an art task at an indie studio, usually you have a lot of freedom with like what you want to do. Mm-hmm. When I was working at Tangent, it was like we need this like explosion effect placed like in this spot to like line up. Like it was very clear, like
very specific.
Yeah, I kind of liked having like this is exactly what you need to do, and then I do it, and they're like great, and then move on to the next thing.
Okay.
Not that I don't like having more freedom, but
what you're saying is you want all creativity stripped from you while you're at Zenfri. Just be like, yes. Oh, okay, good. Anyways, so
I like that. They had a nice office. I don't know. I like their office.
I had been there once, and it was a little bit like of a maze where I was trying to find, someone was leading me somewhere, and I went through like 3 doors, and there was like these security checks, but it was cool to see like the mood or the ambiance or whatever you want to call it. And I saw a lot of people end up working at Tangent that come out of DMD, I imagine.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm curious about is like, so your name's in the credits of this like movie that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's like crazy or cool, or it's like this thing where everyone has Netflix, everyone has a Nintendo, or everyone has this or a phone.
Yeah.
What was it like to have your name attributed in this like big thing that everyone has access to, and it has millions of like views maybe or whatever?
It was cool. Definitely, like when the movie came out, showed it. I probably watched it like 4 times because I would like go to different family members' places. Like, hey, I'm in the credits of this thing. Let's watch it. And then they like pause as the credits are going. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I did that. I did that too. Yeah.
So that was neat. It was a neat experience to like have worked on something that gets like released to like a big like Netflix or like Steam or something. It was that was cool. Yeah, it was very enjoyable. I like Tangent.
You still have a lot of like friends that work there, maybe, or
yeah, I have a friend from high school that she took DMD. She's working there. There's a couple people that I still message every now and then that work there, but yeah.
Oh shoot! I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you, what was it? So, based on your experience at Tangent and at Zenfri, I'm curious, like, to extrapolate a bit. Mm-hmm. What would you ideally like to see yourself doing, like maybe a couple years into the future, or like whatever the next thing it is?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to imagine like you're not going to work at Zenfri for the rest of your life.
Well,
or maybe you are.
Probably not the rest of my life, but I mean...
No, I mean, to clarify, like, if you... Like, what opportunities would you like to like provide for yourself or give to yourself? Like if it maybe you end up there's an opportunity that opens up like somewhere else, like outside of the province.
Yeah.
Like what types of things would you enjoy doing as like the next thing that allows you to learn even more and get more experience?
Probably more of what I'm doing now, I think. Like still environment art stuff. Hopefully like still using Houdini to some degree, doing like technical arty things like that.
So you're doing. So it sounds like you're doing what you enjoy.
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty much. Yeah. So that's one of the big reasons why I'm pretty happy working at Zenfri right now is because like I just have this Houdini thing that I can just like not play with, but sort of, I can like.
Isn't that like kind of cool? The fact that like I love that you can look at your work in terms of like that you describe it as play, because like so many people they might not get an opportunity to apply that feeling to the stuff that they do for work, and it's reasonable. Sometimes you have to maybe be realistic or kind of do what you're capable of or what you have opportunities for. So I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I'm liking what I'm doing, so it's satisfying.
So what do you think about potentially using what you've learned and applying it to game jams? Have you ever been to game jam before? I
think I've been to 2. I like going to them. Usually the restriction for me is just like not having a full like free weekend. So I've been to. I think I went with a friend once, and neither of us really had time to be there the whole time. So we were there for like the first evening, and then I don't think we went back Saturday, Sunday, because we were both like, I'm busy Saturday, I'm busy Sunday. Well, at least we tooled around with like a couple things. And the second time I went with some friends from college, and we made I wasn't there all the days either because I was busy, but I was there 1 or 2 of the days, and we made a game about mirrors. I think we had to like look up, and like the maze was like on the like
Shayla.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that game. I don't know why I have this weird memory for like game dev stuff in Winnipeg. But what was the concept of that game?
I forget what the theme was for that jam, but we came up with that from the theme of the jam. I think it was something about perspectives. So we were like, what if you need to like look into like a mirror in 3D to like solve a puzzle? So we had like a big chasm with like, I think it had like invisible platforms, and you had to like look up to see, like if you look up then there'd be a big mirror and like have the reflection of the stuff, and then you could like go through. But it was neat. It was a neat concept, I think.
What kind of like so where do you pull inspiration from in terms of like a specific for game development? Are there certain like art maybe, or an artist that you enjoy, or games that you pull from to inspire your own work?
Yeah, usually it's what I'm playing at the moment, which right now is a lot of Destiny 2. They have a lot of really sweet like lighting work and like skybox stuff in that game, which is like environment stuff, which is what I like. So I look at that a lot, and then there's like, I don't know if I'd be able to name artists. There's like a concept artist, Daniel Dosiu, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He was like he was the lead on Guild Wars, and I think his son is the lead at like the same company now doing Guild Wars 2. But he has a really cool like photo bashy like style, and a lot of his art is like really huge, grand like environments. So I like look at that and it's like, oh cool, how could I like make a thing that like makes this enormous structure, so I usually it's that, and then just any other thing that I see on like Twitter or whatever.
Just anything in general, kind of.
Yeah, I follow a lot of like game stuff on Twitter, so there's always stuff popping up that I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wonder if I could do that.
So what kind of So one thing that you included in writing was how was it called? That you watch a lot of like GDC stuff.
Yeah,
So what is some of the topics or that you're drawn to there? I'm kind of curious.
Usually it's the more technical talks. There was a really good one that Insomniac did on the Spider-Man game they worked on, and then they were talking about all the like crazy optimization stuff they had to do to make that game run like they would.
That seems right up your alley.
Yeah, oh, exactly. I love that one. They were talking about all these weird things, like they wrote stuff to like the hard disk in a certain way because like it was faster to just like.
Oh, geez, wow!
Like they had like the same file multiple times because it was faster for the hard drive head to just like read it multiple times instead of like going back and forth or something like that. And it just like that's insane to get like that level of like trying to make things.
You gotta try and do that in Houdini.
Yeah, it might be a little out of my depth, but
gotta start somewhere.
They did also talk about like how they procedurally generated like all the buildings and stuff like that, and that stuff is all cool. But yeah, I pretty much just watch every video they post to their YouTube account now. For the past year or so, I think I've watched just every single talk because it's always interesting to some degree.
So, how would you like to see yourself grow? So you talked about pulling inspiration from the GDC Insomniac videos and inspiration from I believe you said his name was Daniel
Dosu, I think.
Yeah. So how would you like to grow as a artist going into the future?
I want to like put stuff on an asset store somewhere.
Right.
Like,
I don't know if you mentioned that earlier or before the recording or not, but yeah.
Yeah. I've always like, that's usually like my goal when I sit down to do a personal project is like, oh, can I like make a set of something and then like put it up on a store somewhere? And usually I don't take it to 100% completion, so I don't do that. But that's probably like the next like thing I want to do in my career is like start posting like assets to sell just as like a extra source of income, I guess.
Interesting. I feel like that also leads to opportunities and like maybe collaborations down the road if someone enjoys your work and leads to something cool. So I want to get into some like non-game dev stuff.
Sure.
But before, because I think it informs more of who we are as a person, because it's like, Houdini is not all that exists about you. Yeah. But before we get into that, I do have one more question about kind of the environment at Zenfri and working on Last Taxi, what it's like to work with a team that you have. So it's like, I know you work with Christian and Shayla and Dustin and Kyle and I don't know. So what is it like to work with a diverse, talented team of people on a project?
It's good. There's a lot of freedom with how I want to solve a problem in a smaller team. So usually if it's an art task, I'll get like a concept drawing from Christian, and then like the way that I put that together is just kind of up to me, which I like having that because that gives me room to like experiment with stuff in Houdini, kind of solve it in my own way. But it's good. Yeah, it's good people. You know what they do.
Fair enough. So we were before. I believe we were talking about, and I like this part of the conversation. It's the pets part.
Yes.
So I recently got a new cat. So I'm going through the process of trying to introduce this new cat to my old cat. I'm going to say a funny story, and then I want to hear your experience. So I got a new cat, and the new cat is in my bedroom. And my old cat, her name is Jam Jams. The new cat is Beanbag.
Okay.
So Jam Jams usually slept with me, like in my room every night. Mm-hmm. But now the Beanbag, the new cat, is in there, and Jam Jams is out. They have their separate base camps. So I actually slept on the couch last night because I wanted to sleep with Jam Jams, and I didn't want to neglect like our. Like, I don't know what it is, just our time to just be together. This sounds so weird, maybe. But,
I don't think it is.
Okay, good. So I slept on the couch so she could sleep with me and I could sleep with her. And then she didn't, like, sleep on me. And I had this weird thought where I was, like, annoyed that she didn't sleep with me. And I almost wanted to say to her, it's like, well, if you're not going to sleep with me, I'm not going to sleep on the couch.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my bed.
I'm just going to go back to my bed. It was so funny to me that I had that, like, thought go through my head that was like I was treating her like she was like just like a human. There's like, oh, yeah. You're gonna sleep on the couch.
Doesn't appreciate my gesture. I'm going back to
do you know what I mean? So that was like kind of funny. Although I'm curious, like what kind of relationship or this is weird. What kind of experience you get out of like having a pet? What is it like? Because you have a dog and a cat.
Yes. Yeah, we just recently got a dog, and the cat's a bit of a long story. I got the cat when I was grade 5 or 6, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like been in my family since then. So we had that cat, and then we've like moved houses, and like my parents split up, and then I lived with my mom, then I lived with my grandma, then I lived with my dad, and like I took the cat with me the whole time, and then I had to take the cat back to my mom's place when I was staying at my grandma's place because we found out she's allergic to it, and it was like causing issues. So I took it back to Lockport, and then I moved into an apartment with my girlfriend, which is not pet friendly, so the cat stayed in where my mom lives in Lockport, and then we got a house June last year. Yeah. And obviously our house is pet friendly, so we can take the cat back.
I would have been surprised if it wasn't pet friendly.
Yeah. So yeah, now after about a year of like not living with the cat, I got the cat back. So that's nice. And then we got the dog, I think it was December 3rd. So we've just had it for like a month and a bit now.
What is that process like to introduce a cat to a dog? Has it been stressful?
It was like really easy. It was surprisingly easy. Okay. Because the dog
something's
had never...
Something's wrong.
Yeah, like the dog had never lived with a cat that we know of, and our cat had never lived with a dog. And she would like fight a little bit with like other cats that she lived with. So we were like a little like, ooh, maybe this isn't going to go so well. But before we adopted the dog, obviously I'll name them. The cat's name is Bandit, and then the dog's name is Guapo.
Guapo?
Yes, Guapo. We didn't name it. It was like a rescue because he's like 13, I think.
I feel like you can't rename rescues. Like when I got my cat, her name was Beanbag, and I've always wanted to get another cat and name it Toast.
Yeah.
So it'd be Jam Jam and Toast. But I was like, it feels so wrong to me to rename a cat that already has a name.
Yeah. I think if it's like a new, like a young animal, then it's like probably fine. But we didn't want to rename Guapo. We were told it's Spanish for handsome. So we were like, that's nice. We're gonna keep that. So we got Guapo, and before we adopted him, they let us have him over. Like the rescue people came over with him, and like just for a visit to see
play date kind of thing.
Yeah, like a little bit of a play date, just to see how, because we had never met the dog at that point. We just like see pictures and stuff. So it was like,
you hadn't introduced them yet. Oh, just to meet the dog.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit of both. It was to introduce to the cat and to meet the dog because we hadn't personally met the dog yet. So they brought him over, and the cat was like. I don't want to say good. Like she was on the couch, and then the dog like went to the couch and like was looking at her and was like super like fixated on her, and we were like, oh, that's not very good. And the cat was like all curled up in a corner. Her tail was like 3 times the size, and every now and then she just let out like an upset moan.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You probably know the sound.
Yeah, oh my gosh. not as. Mine is, I think, much less positive experiences so far, but I've only just had her for like a couple of days. But
yeah, but that interaction with her on the couch, just all like in fear and her tail all bushed up, that's like the worst it has ever been. It just like,
which is relatively pretty mild, all things considered.
Yeah. Eventually, he stopped being like so fixated on her, and we could like hold him and like pet him and stuff, and see how he acts and whatever.
Are they like best buddies now?
Not best buddies, but they like get along. So when we first like actually brought him home and they like had adopted him, the cat would like walk into the room and like see him and like kind of freeze for a minute and be like, and then just leave. Mm-hmm. But we got, I think there's a little bit of help from both of the animals, because the cat is afraid of him, so she just avoids him. Like if he's in the hallway, she'll like go a wide berth around him, and, and then the dog just like doesn't care about the cat at all. Like the cat will just walk around him, and he'll just be like, "Yeah, okay," and funny. He doesn't like go chase her or like bark at her or anything. So I think the fact that the dog doesn't care about the cat really helps, like. Because then the cat will she's been slowly realizing that, like, oh, he doesn't want to eat me. Like,
he doesn't want to eat me.
They're also both about the same size, and they're both old. Because the dog's 13. He's a Pomeranian. I think he's, like, only part Pomeranian, because he's, like, this big. I think most Pomeranians are smaller. And the cat is, like, 16 by now. So.
16 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, they don't fight, and every day that we like saw them in the same room, it was like they were more and more comfortable. Okay. And now it's to the point where like if we're sitting on the couch and the dog's sitting on the couch, the cat will like walk into the room and like jump up on the couch, but she'll sit on the opposite end of the couch. She's not gonna like cuddle up to him, but like she's comfortable enough now that she'll just like sit in the same piece of furniture as him, and it's just like, oh, great.
So what was it like taking the big step to home ownership? Because that's a pretty, to me, it seems like a pretty big step. Yeah,
it was a little scary. There's things that I don't miss about living in an apartment, and things that I do kind of miss about living in an apartment. I almost like having a little bit less space than we have right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we...
it's cozier. I think a lot of times smaller spaces are cozy.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Yeah. We also, we're still, like, saving up to, like, furnish, because, you know, we were in a one-bedroom apartment, and then we moved to a house, so it's like, oh, there's all this empty space, we gotta put furniture in it, so we're like, saving up right now for more furniture, but, yeah, it's more cleaning when you have, like 7 rooms as opposed to like 3 in an apartment. Mm-hmm. But I do really like having my own washer and dryer in the basement, because in my apartment I had to walk down the stairs. It was like it was 3 stories, so I didn't have an elevator, so we walked down the stairs. We were on the top floor, so we go all the way down, and then it didn't have a card. It was just like you had to put loonies in, and then
like old school.
Yeah, so we had to like stock up on loonies, then be like, oh, I gotta do laundry, all my loonies. I gotta run to the bank and get a roll of loonies, because like, why would I have a roll of change? I just pay everything with a card today.
Right,
like,
I agree. Yeah, I hate change.
I hated it. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah. Very much don't miss that. I like not having like neighbors. Yeah. It's like I'm not afraid to make noise, and I don't hear anything either. So. Yeah. It's nice. But yeah, it was a little cozier in the apartment, I think. I think if it had like one more bedroom in our apartment, we might have stayed there longer. Because a big reason that we wanted more space was so my girlfriend and I could each have our own office. Because in our apartment it was like a big square, like the kitchen, and then there's a little wall between the kitchen and the living room. But the living room space kind of just like wrapped around the wall into the kitchen. Okay. And it's kind of hard to describe.
Yeah. I think I might have a similar layout, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. But our office stuff was just kind of like on either ends of where our dining table was in the middle, so it was a little bit annoying. Like,
do you both do creative stuff? Or I mean, I know you do, but you both do she does creative work as well?
No, she does more social work type stuff. She's trying to get into that field, but she was in school at the time, so she had her own desk and laptop and all that stuff that you need for school. But yeah, it's, I don't know. Overall, I'm happy we got the house. There's pros and cons.
Gotta get either another dog or another cat or a rabbit.
I don't think we're gonna get more pets for now.
For now.
For now. I mean, I'm sure we'll get, because they're both old. I'm sure as we lose in the future, we'll get some more. But yeah. Yeah, I'm liking the house.
Let me know. I hope you don't mind me asking, and if not, then feel free not to. We can kind of skip over it. But I'll kind of share my experience. So I have my cat. I rescued her off the street. And when I first got her, I wasn't intending to keep her. I just had an opportunity to help, and I was living in my mom's basement at the time. So I had space, and so I took the cat and I tried to find the owners. After a while, it didn't have a tattoo and there were no owners. So it just became my cat.
Yeah.
And I remember when she would be on my bed or on me and cleaning herself, it would drive me crazy. I'd be like, okay, I just want a leg here. It's like when someone's making a little bit of noise when you're trying to sleep sometimes, you're just like they're not being rude. They're just making a little bit of noise and enough where you don't want to say anything, but just bothering you. That's what Jams was doing. And it's so weird because now I don't like it when she's not doing that. When she's not on me and grooming herself and I can't feel her there, sometimes I'll pick her up, put her on me, and then she'll try and get up and walk away, and then I'll be like, no, stay down. And eventually she'll stay and start grooming, and I'll be like, this is cozy. Yeah. And I used to hate that. Anyways, my point I was getting to is that I've developed this relationship with her, and when you brought up eventually they'll no longer be with us, sometimes I think I almost wish, and this isn't true, but I almost wish that I didn't have her, so I didn't have to go through the experience of having to no longer have her be with me. So I don't know if that's something that you think about at all in terms of having these pets that you love and care about. Obviously, I would never go back and change it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think about? It's maybe a little bit of a, not a morbid, but less of a positive.
Yeah, it's a reality. Especially with my cat's getting pretty old. It's 16. She doesn't really have much health issues, but once they get old, you kind of start to mentally prepare yourself. Okay, something could happen soon. It's eventually it's not going to be around anymore. But I don't think I would not want to have it. But maybe it's different for me because I had it since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't change anything.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, and to clarify, neither would I. Just sometimes I think about losing people that I care about and how stressful and how hard that could be, to the point where hypothetically it would be easier not to care about anyone. I wouldn't, again, to be clear, I don't feel that way, but it's just do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
do you get what I'm saying?
I totally get it. Yeah, it's, you wonder what would have been if I just didn't have a cat. Then I wouldn't have this anxiety of what's going to happen when the cat gets old and stuff like that, right?
I don't know. That's kind of a personal thought, I guess, but that's kind of something that I have thought about in the in the time of me having Jams. I love that cat so much because I spend so much time with her. She sleeps with me. I go to bed with her. and I wake up with her like in my legs. Like she sleeps on me most of the time. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a jam story.
Yeah, I wish my cat would sleep soundly at night.
Oh no!
As soon as you started talking about like making noise to keep you awake, I was like, oh, I have a story. So she would never do this at any other house that I've been to. Yeah. But when we took her into our house, we're not like 100% sure why, but she meows really loud frequently.
Just for no reason.
Yeah, I think we've taken her to a vet, and he said his best guess is like, because he tested her hearing, and her hearing's like really, really bad, which we're not really aware of. So he said it's probably like because we usually find that it happens when she's alone. So at night, which sucks a lot. We've got a solution for that right now. But also, like, if we're just on the living room and she's upstairs, she usually sleeps in my office upstairs on the desk. And then she'll, like, wake up, and then we'll just hear her, like, meowing really loud from upstairs, and she'll kind of, like, work her way down. But then she, like, finds us, and she stops. She's like, she still meows, but then she like, finds us, and then comes and sits with us, and then she's nice and quiet. So the vet thinks it's maybe, like, an anxiety thing, or like it's maybe also to do with her hearing going. Like she makes loud noises just to kind of like reassure herself. He said it could also be like a bit of like feline senility because she's getting old.
Okay.
So yeah, the first couple months, I think that we had the cat, she would like meow us awake every single night at like 3 or 4 a.m.
Oh, it's like having kids.
Yeah. So we tried a lot of things. We tried, because we would close the door and go to bed, and the cat would be just free to just walk around the house. We tried like a pheromone thing that you plug into the wall. That did absolutely nothing. We tried like trying to play with her before we go to bed, but like she's kind of old. She only really likes like a feather toy that we had, and it didn't make a difference. Gave her one kind of medication that didn't really do anything, and then our solution right now is we give her some medicine that like sedates her a little bit, so just kind of like chills her out, calms her down. We take her to downstairs in our we have a room for her with like her litter boxes are in that room, but then we like put a blanket down for her, like a bunch of beds and stuff, and her food and water, and we put it in there, and then we close her in there overnight, because like whether or not we close her in there, she meows and meows at night, so we figure like if she's in the room, then at least it's quiet enough that it's like our bedroom is on the opposite side of the house, and it's on the main floor, and that room is in the basement, so with that amount of separation, we can't really hear her. Usually we have to turn the AC, like central air fans on, but then we can sleep, which is nice, because it was getting to the point where it's like I was like gonna text my mom and be like, can I give you the cat back? Like, we
really?
can't sleep. Like,
yeah. Is that okay?
Every single night at like 3 or 4 a.m. it was like meowing and meowing. We like spray her with a water bottle, and she'd go away for 10 minutes, and she'd come back and meow meow meow. I want more water sprayed on me. Okay. There you go.
That kind of like reminds me of the experience I had with the new cat, where, I mean, granted it's only been a couple days, but the thought already went through my head where I was like, okay, I swear to God, if this continues for X period of time that I haven't determined yet, like I'm going to have to reach out to the owner. I'm going to do everything I can, obviously, like you have.
Yeah.
But if it gets to that point, it's still an issue. It's like, I mean, I'm not just going to not sleep for the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I wouldn't want to, like, take the cat back to my mom's place, but it's getting to the point where it's just like, okay, I can't, like, it's, like, affecting my work. Like, I'm sleepy, like, every day. Like, this just sucks. So.
Yeah, when I was sleeping on the couch to sleep with Jam Jams, I was like, oh, this isn't, this I can't, I mean, I'll do it for as long as I can till hopefully they get along. But I'm like, I can't sleep on the couch for an extended period of time. It's like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel bad locking the cat in the room, but we give her like a heating pad and stuff, so it shouldn't be cold or anything. It always just like feels bad.
I have the same feeling about, so right now, the new cat is in my bedroom, which is like not small, but it's smaller than the rest of my apartment. And then Jam Jams gets the rest of the apartment because I'm like, she's been my cat for 4 years, so you get more space, I guess. Yeah. And then the other one's locked in the bedroom, and I feel bad. It's like, I don't want to get another cat and neglect it in terms of like the amount of energy or love that I give it. But it feels like I'm giving it less love because it's stuck in a bedroom, and I do site swapping.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I just want to get to the point where they can both like be free to like go around the apartment, you know?
Yeah. So do they like fight each other? They don't like each other?
So I'm doing 2 weeks of no visual contact.
Oh, okay. You're like doing the
yeah,
process.
And then like feeding. Every time I feed them, I move it like I have a tape measure. I literally take it out and measure. Okay, 5 centimeters closer because I'm just trying to like follow it to a T.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna sacrifice whatever I have to sacrifice in the beginning to get that payoff.
Yeah.
To like give me every chance of success.
Yeah.
And then after 2 weeks, I'm gonna reset, and then I'm gonna start introducing visual contact but like a physical separation. Mm-hmm. And then closer, and then eventually, and the whole time I'll do swipe swapping where one will be in the bathroom, and then the other one gets to explore both spaces, so that, you know, they're doing like that.
Yeah.
And then I switch it around, and then eventually I'll just open it up, and I'll either be disappointed that it's not going the way I want it to, or I'll be like, thank God it's finally happened.
Yeah.
My cat, I think, Jam Jams is going to be more of the issue. Because the other cat's younger, I think she's just, like, curious and, you know, not aggressive.
Yeah.
So, I got, like, a broom ready to, like, because I'm just afraid of, like, you know, they fight, and cats are, you know, like, when you're fighting your brother, your sister, your family member, you punch each other, but you're not really punching each other, you know?
Yeah.
The cats are trying to rip their eyeball out. I watched this cat video where it's like, do not throw cats into a room together and just assume they'll figure it out. The video I watched said that's a good recipe for a cat to lose an eyeball, or a cat to lose its claw in the other cat's eyeball.
Oh wow!
Because they're trying to kill each other, probably. So
yeah, I guess so. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, I enjoy the cat talk very much.
Yeah.
But in summary, I kind of I'm interested to ask you this particular question because I like to ask it to most people. Just I find the perspective that you have in life and kind of how you go about it, it is an interesting, it's an interesting outcome potentially. Or, yeah. Anyways, so let's say hypothetically you get to the depending on your philosophy, whatever it is not it's not specific to a philosophy. But if you were to get to the pearly gates and you arrive, what would you like to have been said about your life?
I don't know. That's a really I'm not sure.
Right? That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's not easy to answer, but
I've been sad about my life, like, just that I made people laugh, made people happy. I don't know.
Through your art, or
just talking,
just in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'd love to see is like a stat sheet. Like
a statue.
You sat down like 50,000 times.
Oh my gosh,
like,
yes.
You scratched your head like 40 million times. Like,
oh my god, that might be my favorite answer that I've gotten from that question.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. It's like you drank like 4 billion glasses of water.
You drank the like Atlantic Ocean volume of like water or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? It seems crazy, but like I can see the like volume just over your lifetime, you know? Cool. I really appreciate your time. I was looking forward to talking to you because I had been aware of some of the things that you had done over the years, and we've had a chance to like chat here and there at the Game Dev Meetup. But I thought it would have been cool to like kind of, you know, maybe cut through the like, oh, we're at the Game Dev Meetup, and it's just kind of, you know, to maybe on a more personal level, be like, oh, so you know, the experience. Moving into your home and kind of your philosophy behind your work is really interesting. So I really appreciate your time and sharing that with me. I'm hoping that other people can kind of take from your story and maybe learn something about you or just kind of Houdini maybe or whatever it is. Yeah. If people want to kind of reach out to you, I want to recommend your Twitter account, but
sure, yeah.
I'll leave it open to you.
Yeah, my Twitter account's probably like the more public thing. I'm on Facebook, but I don't really like post anything. I think the last 2 posts were like over months, and then just the pictures of my cat and the dog.
So, what is your Twitter account?
I think it's just at Mike Safioles. I'm pretty sure. Okay,
and how's that spelt?
It's MikeSafioles.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure that's my name. If you search my name in Twitter,
we'll find out. They'll find out when you search. And like, I feel like it's pretty easy. It like does like relative search or whatever. If you just type the name, it comes up. Yeah, cool. So other than that, in closing, I want to thank everyone for listening. Again, you can go to interactiveindie.com. You can listen to any of the previous conversations if you enjoyed what you hear. If you enjoyed this conversation, there are many others like it. You can learn more about different people in the community. We can kind of turn that into more of like a stronger community of people that are supporting each other and just kind of passion. Other than on top of that, I want to thank Dan Blair from Bitspace Development. We're recording in his office right now, and we're using some of his equipment. So I'm very grateful for that. Daniel Bergman as well was involved with the podcast from the beginning, and he has been very gracious to volunteer his time over the years, and all kinds of people that have had kind words to say about kind of what we're doing here, and I say we in terms of everyone in contributing to the conversation. So I want to thank everyone for listening, and I want to thank you for your time and this conversation on a personal level. So
yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Cheers. Yeah.